Hi, this is the Vedic Astrologer with the Vedic Leo reading for June 2015. So the first card out for Vedic Leo for June is the Eight of Wands in reverse. I feel like you hear or give some news which kind of sets you free, or takes the blinders off, rather. About the actual situation with someone that you have not been in close contact with, or that you've taken a break from talking to, but you hear some news about them or from them that allows you to see it for what it really is and not what you kind of thought it was. Sorry. I've got a gravelly throat this month, so I think I'm just barely avoiding some cold that's got my number. But yeah, I feel like the blinders kind of come off where you're like, oh, okay, so this is what I'm really dealing with. And that allows you to move forward in a more purposeful way, or in a more true way. And not necessarily true is not exactly it either, but in a way that is for some people more practical, and for other people more guided. So it feels like for some people, this is going to give them a better hint of the size of what they're actually working with. And for other people, I think for everybody, it's going to give you a better hint of the size of what you're working with. And for other people, but I think for some people, it's going to be like, it's less than what you thought. And so you're able to kind of move on from it in a way that's healthier. And for other people, it's like the impetus to do something about it will have been placed on you rather than on the other person, where it has maybe been perhaps unfairly resting. It feels like there's a call to action. And that it will work out different ways for different people, depending on kind of which side of this you're on. If you've been in the dark, you're about to figure it out. The situation is going to be enlightened for you. And if you've been kind of maybe overly Pollyanna-ish about something, I think it's going to get a little darker in a way, where it's like, yeah, no, you know what, it's not actually as close to healing or as close to being fixed as I had hoped or had thought. So you may need to back off of it for a while. It feels like there is healing that's needed, but healing that's happening in sort of separate locations. As someone is processing this new information. Yeah, whatever relationship has been like remaining steady as one person kind of gives and gives and the other person receives and receives, that is changing this month. It's like those positions are being wrested apart. Because whoever's been just sort of giving blindly is running out of stuff to give, and whoever has been receiving thoughtlessly in a way, it's time for them to act, or it's time for them to sort of balance the scales and be more active in procuring a happy future, in procuring the end that needs to kind of happen here, in procuring the resolution to this problem, this stuck situation. Sorry, and this person may also kind of feel like they're all like dialed into. I feel like the person who has been receiving, and who may not even again realize how much they've been receiving until the well kind of dries up, but I feel like that person feels very dialed in, like feels like they know exactly what they're doing. Like they know just how to get there. Like they know they are completely connected with like the light of where they need to go. But I don't think that they can actually sort of I think it's more that they feel like they are headed for the promised land in some way. Whether that's the direction they're moving now, a new opportunity that's come up for them, or whatever. Like, I feel like whatever direction they're moving in now, where they've actually been receiving a great deal of assistance without necessarily noting that or returning it, they feel like whatever track they're on now is heading them in the right direction. And for some people, it may be that they're heading in the right direction, but it feels a little bit like overconfidence. Like they're being supported by this other person and are not acknowledging that support, and so they're not realizing how much that support has to do with their being able to get to that promised land. And for some people, this will be in very ethereal ways, and for other people, it will be in concrete ways. But yeah, I see like sort of a pause that maybe creates like a rebirth of appreciation. And it's not so much, I mean, it's a pause, but it could be a fairly long pause for some people. It feels like a fairly big stuck space of like, you know, we're going to have to take a time out from this. Or I'm going to have to take a time out from supporting you or from feeding you in this way. And for some people, again, this may be something that you've been sort of spiritually supporting someone. And for other people, it may be much more practical. But it feels like there's a time for this to kind of pop again. But for right now, for whatever reason, you kind of need to withdraw your support. Or someone needs to withdraw their support. And I think it's so that the other person can realize how much they depend on it or how much they've gained from it. And this realization may not happen right away. And in fact, it may be kind of the opposite almost, where it feels like this person is so determined to go it alone, and people are kind of looking at them and looking at their progress and what they're doing and being like, are you sure? That looks kind of maybe like not the best idea. And they're like, no, I've got this. Don't you worry about me. You know? But I feel like it's a process of their demons kind of coming out in order to be cleansed and purged so that they actually can reach a happy resolution. So I feel like you may have to watch someone go astray, or other people may be warning you, I don't think what you're doing is such a hot idea, but it's like you kind of have to go through, and that echoes back to this temperance card here. You kind of have to go through it in order to really reap the reward of the lessons that are here for you in this situation. Because I do think you'll find your balance again, and I think you'll find a clearer understanding of the way that all the parts of your life work together, and of the value of various people in your community and in your life. And I think that that's going to be, once that happens, I feel like that's going to be very settled. You know, like that's kind of like the book is closed on that. You don't have to do it again, but I feel like it is a journey that is in play this month, but may continue for several months. You may feel like people are just trying to steal your happiness or something, you know, and like you need to just not listen to them and ride away from them. But I think that there is something, if people are kind of warning you off of a path or expressing worry about something you're doing, I think there is something in what they're saying. So, yeah. You may want to heed that, or at least to sort of start processing that into your way of thinking. Which may not mean that like whoever is telling you this is exactly right, but you may need to like kind of process that so you can come up with the right solution for yourself for how to alter that side effect or that that vibe of what you're doing that is causing other people concern. Yeah, I do see some of you sort of self-isolating and kind of being like, yeah, you know what? I got this. I don't need to hear anything that anybody has to say. I've got my little kingdom, and I'm really going to just make this happen for myself. I don't need anybody else. I have everything I need here. And, you know, that's not usually the way to go. But yeah, I feel like if that is the case, then you will have sort of like a slow creeping realization that you do need other people, and that you need to allow them into your life and allow yourself to be touched and shaped by other people, and in the way that you touch them and shape them as well. Yeah, so there may be, I think it's a slow dawning of this sense of reciprocity that is needed. And for other people, it may just be that someone who has, this may be another kind of a repetition of that somebody who has been sort of supporting you is slowly withdrawing that in a way that you may almost not notice for a while. But that eventually you'll be like, oh, wait, there was a thing that you used to do that isn't getting done by anybody anymore. And like, how do I fill that up? Some of you may have also just gotten yourselves in too deep with somebody who, you know, you may like, but you're not entirely sure that you love. But somehow it may have happened that something got rushed, so that now you're kind of living together or having a baby together or doing something like big that you're not entirely sure you're ready for. You're not sure that your heart's entirely in it, but you're kind of moving ahead with it anyway, because it seems to be something that you're like swept along in the flow of. Or you may just feel a bit trapped by it. But I do think that it feels like something that's going to take some time to figure out its footing, but that it will eventually be a positive thing, even if you don't end up staying together with this person. That whatever commitment you've made to this person that you're maybe a little nervous about is going to bear fruit in a way that is right, even if your paths are not meant to be permanently joined. Yeah, so there's something at the heart of this which is true and right and why it's happening, basically. But I think you may have a bit of cold feet. It's possible you may have a bit of cold feet this month. Or just feel like there's too much other stuff around the heart of the matter, you know, like if you are excited about this person or excited about the way you're moving forward, but then there's all this stuff that's like weighing you down or something. Like it feels sort of like, you know, wedding planning or something where you're like, no, I'm in love with you and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to get married, but like, oh my gosh, just the planning for this wedding is making me want to die, you know. So yeah, it just feels like, you know, it'll spring forth again. It'll be okay. Try to like keep your eye on the prize. Try to keep your eye on like what you're actually doing here, rather than allow it to be sort of frittered away in all the details. So if you need to sort of scale back, scale down, that seems like that's recommended. Yeah, don't exhaust yourself working on this, whatever it is. And you also, it doesn't feel like something you can back out of either without there being a lot of fighting and difficulty and chaos. It feels like it's something that is going to proceed in this manner, you know, because that's how it's meant to proceed, but that you kind of may need to just get a bit of a grip on it this month and kind of steel yourself to continue. Yeah, I just feel like you're having some doubts about a new path that you're starting on. And maybe all the luster is kind of draining out of it. But yeah, the advice again is to stay the course. And think about what's left after all this stuff is done. You know, if you are moving in with somebody and it just feels like too much, it feels like, you know, think about what's going to happen after all that yucky stuff is over. You know, all the chaos is over, and think about, kind of keep your eye on the prize of what emotional result you want, no matter what the situation is. Keep your eye on the prize of what emotional result you want. And that's going to help you get through what feels like just kind of chaos and confusion. But, you know, maybe that's just partly the Mercury retrograde that's happening in half the month as well, you know. Or maybe it's just cleaning up the results of the Mercury retrograde towards the end of the month as well. So it feels like you're kind of on the right track, even if it's not going to be the end-all be-all permanent thing for you. For whatever reason, you need to do what you're doing. So you should keep pushing ahead, but try to maintain your balance, because it feels like there's a big potential for you to kind of get thrown off this month. So one step at a time, keep your eye on the prize is the message there. So yeah, I hope that's helpful for June for you Vedic Leos out there. And 5th house people, and, you know, all that jazz. If you would like to schedule a private appointment, a personal appointment, my link for scheduling is down below. Please note that all times are Pacific time. So please do the translation for whatever your time zone is and make sure that that time works for you, because all my times are Pacific time. So if it's 10 a.m., if you see 10 a.m. on the chart, it means 10 a.m. Pacific time. So make sure that that works for you. Otherwise, my email is theivyleagueastrologer@gmail.com. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good month, and I will see you next month. Thanks.